1-800-449-8255. And it's the Clark the Shark Show. You know it, baby. The most amazing, relative, classic, imperative talk radio show in the United States today. Clark the Shark, of course. Of course is a horse. A horse, as long as it's Mr. Shark. Right here on the Sharky Show, where I'm going to talk about this second album by Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, 1967. Where do I even begin? Now, let's frame the situation, people. That first Frank Zappa album, and the Mothers, let's not forget them, 1966, Freak Out, was a turning point in humanity and a turning point on planet Earth. I would say the whole entire world really changed after Freak Out. You know, there was a world before Frank Zappa, and then there was a world after, and they're totally different worlds. They're like apples to oranges. Freak Out influenced everything. I mean, Sgt. Pepper and their Satanic Majesty's Request, and gosh, I mean, the Beach Boys, Smile. Who knows? I mean, just that album created like heavy metal, new wave, alternative, indie, punk rock, classic rock, weird, funny rock, you know, like rock comedy, or maybe like sardonic, depressing rock. Everything, every band in the 1980s, 20 years later, and the 1990s, right on through to today in 2023, is influenced by Frank Zappa in general. But the way the double album, Freak Out, a double album, now imagine that, people. The way that album just shifted the world, the entire planet, was incredible. It was like an earthquake. I mean, that's all I can say, you guys. Frank Zappa and his weirdness. It's just the way that Frank Zappa was raised. You know, his dad built military grade, like, chemicals used to kill, like, I don't know if it was chlorine gas or, you know, muriatic acid bombs, like in the back, something you'd find in the back of a swimming pool cleaning truck. You know, like Clark the Shark would drive around in, you know, Torrance or San Diego or wherever. But Frank Zappa was always really sickly as a child. And it's from those chemicals, I believe, or maybe his dad, the DNA with his dad was just altered from the chemicals. And out popped this weirdo of a man with a big nose and a mustache, and a genius. I mean, just a genius beyond anyone's understanding. Even me, Clark the Shark, I can't comprehend Frank Zappa. Even I try every night to think about Frank and what makes him tick. You know, I heard that he never hugged anyone or shook anyone's hand or greeted anyone. And I'm like, you know, that reeks of me, Clark the Shark. Before, you know, modern times, like 15 or so years ago, you know, when I grew up and got old and came of age and turned, you know, 35 or 40, I was like that. I was a guy who just hung out by myself and, kept in my room, and I would do things like play Frank Zappa records because I had to. You know, if you're an introvert and you're antisocial, of course, what else do you do but listen to the amazing Frank Zappa and the Mothers? I mean, yeah, man. Frank Zappa and the Mothers. Now, the second album, to me, Clark the Shark, the way it starts out, it's going to get, 5 stars, you guys. I hope. I mean, come on. Every Frank Zappa album should get 5. Who gave it 1? Kerrang? I mean, who the fuck is Kerrang anyway? All Music, and the Encyclopedia of Popular Music. Yeah, dude, like Music Hound. I've had troubles with Music Hound. I mean, they've given some garbage reviews. Oh, Rolling Stone album guide, those geniuses. Well, they gave it a 4.5. So this time, their genius muse is correct when it comes to Frank Zappa. But his albums are so good and they're so technical and they're just so weird that you can only give them a 5. I swear. I've rarely given Frank Zappa albums a 4. Certainly not a 3, you guys. Now, the way this album begins with Plastic People, oh, baby, now you're such a drag, Sharky. That's how people probably were in the South Bay. They're like, they wouldn't call me plastic, but they'd be like, oh, Sharky, you're such a drag. Plastic People. I love Plastic People. It's so true, too. Frank Zappa is way ahead of his time, making fun of, like yuppies or whatever they were, just artificial fake people. The girl, with her hairspray or, whatever. But you got to hear that first song on side 1. Now, the Duke of Prunes is kind of the beginning of this vegetable trilogy or little rock opera where Zappa has this obsession with vegetables or fruit, or it's just really weird. And I love it, Amnesia Vivace. It's just all rad. And then the Duke regains his chops, I feel hungry now. Like, I want to go in the kitchen and just call any vegetable. The guys who probably perform Call Any Vegetable the best were the 2 guys in the Turtles when they joined the Mothers. Actually, Frank fired. He pink slipped the entire original Mothers of Invention, which I didn't like. And he hired the Turtles and, Ainsley Dunbar and all these other people, which is fucking cool. But me, Clark the Shark, I'm kind of a loyalist. I feel bad about, and for the original Mothers, But, I guess he had to do what he had to do. Or maybe he just didn't want to pay him. I've heard that they bitched and said they were fired because they were owed money. And then Zappa found a convenient way to get out of that and just not pay them. Or they all had to sue Zappa or something. It's really sad and comical. And it's one of those things that I hate about Frank Zappa, is he's not friendly to the point of, he takes it to the business sense. Pink slipping the Mothers of Invention band, I don't agree with that, but Invocation and Ritual Dance of the Young Pumpkin, instrumental. Of course, any instrumental involving Frank Zappa and the Mothers. The very next album after this from 1967 is actually not the Mothers. It's Frank Zappa solo, where he really doesn't play on it, but he wrote it all, and it's really fucking like progressive rock that is really killer. Man, you gotta hear that 1967 album by Frank Zappa, not the Mothers, solo, you guys. It's really fucking good. Even though Frank really isn't on it much, he directs it, he conducts it. It's Oh, dude, it shows the genius. And soft cell conclusion, that's like me, Shark. My whole life is like a soft cell conclusion. You just got to hear it in all of side one. I love side one of this maybe more than side one of Freak Out, especially Plastic People and just the trilogy about vegetables. I don't know what Zappa, because I don't know if there's any more other albums where he's all, obsessed with vegetables, like call any vegetable. It's just so weirdly ironic, and it is true, you guys. Eat your veggies. They keep you regular, just like Frank said. And America Drinks really we'll just listen to all 152 of America Drinks. Status back, baby. I mean, this side 2 is like a little rock opera at the start. I mean, these songs are just weird. Uncle Bernie's Farm. You got to hear all this, dude. But of course, Son of Susie Cream Cheese. I think like Harry Nilsson was influenced by that song, you guys. Susie Cream Cheese. And then Zappa had like this little Susie Cream Cheese trilogy or rock opera. Like Susie Cream Cheese. Cream cheese. Yeah, baby. What's got into you? Like his little take on Louie Louie. And of course, Brown Shoes Don't Make It, which is a song by Zappa that everyone knows. It's just amazing. A really long masterpiece. When America Drinks and Goes Home. It is true, you guys. The way he tightens up side 2 here, the MOI American Pageant. This is rock opera, like, done better than The Who. Like, you can tell Pete Townsend was, I've always said there's a competition between The Who, like The Who Sell Out and Tommy versus Frank Zappa. And you guys, hands down, there's no comparison. Frank Zappa blows The Who away, and I hate to say that, but Frank Zappa blows away everything. Now, I wouldn't say he blows away The Who live, because The Who are incredible, like on Live at Leeds and all that. But The Who always kind of struggled in the studio. And so too does Frank Zappa, but he always turns, lemonade into a lemon. Or back into a lemon. And the process is really interesting. Just the reverse engineering that Frank Zappa does. And so many people say Frank could have written hit songs, but he'd rather just do bullshit like this second album, Absolutely Free, or like We're Only in It for the Money, or, Uncle Meat, or Weasels Rip My Flesh. Every Frank Zappa album had potential for commerciality, to be in the charts, but Frank would just fuck it up on purpose and by grand designs, because that was Frank Zappa. He wanted to fail, and he failed so badly in life and in music that now his estate, his legacy is actually in debt, you guys. Like Dweezil Zappa and his kids today are all like struggling with this estate that is valueless, and they're literally going into debt where the kids are fighting, like Moon Unit and Diva and Ahmet, who really wants to call himself Rick Zappa. These 4 children are fighting over an estate that's broke and is not profitable, not making money. I'm sure it makes a little something, but, there's rumors I hear that the vault and, the Laurel Canyon home and all that are in danger, you guys. Like, it's going to be like a GoFundMe pretty soon, like a Wikipedia where you donate to help the Zappas. I'm not kidding, you guys. I'm not making it up. And I think Dweezil Zappa's like, dude, give me some money, to his brother. And his brother's like, dude, seriously, there is no money. I can't give you anything. And Dweezil's like, well, then let me play these songs out on the road so our family can make money. And see, I don't know what the conflict is there between Frank Zappa's children. Uh, I'm sure Moon Unit and Diva are on the side of Ahmet. And Dweezil is just a super talented genius. He's like Steve Vai or Joe Satriani or something. He can play anything. He can probably even play drums. But I don't know if he really has the business mind of his brother or sister. I don't know. I could be wrong or right. I just don't know. But I know that it's a family panic right now where Dweezil is like, come on, you other three, we've got to band together. Maybe go on the road, do a tour, and make money, not just in honor of Frank or for Frank's legacy or estate, but we're desperate here. We're going to lose it all, And when these 4 children are gone, I'm like, who will be around to run the affairs of Frank Zappa? Maybe it will have to be me, yours truly, Clark the Shark. You Zappa children, contact me at clahagin@aol.com. Because I can think of some creative ways to bring money into the Zappa system, you guys. Not in honor of Frank, but to help you guys thrive, not just survive. But I want to see all 4 of the Zappa kids, especially the very beautiful and awesome Moon Unit, but also Dweezil and all of you guys. I'm not wild about Ahmet, but I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know these people personally. But it's like I know Frank Zappa personally, you guys. I grew up with Frank and all these amazing albums, and I want to make sure it all goes through nice. I mean, I know in another 20, 30 years, we'll all be dead, and then there'll be new people tomorrow. But for crying out loud, people, for God's sakes, we got to keep Frank Zappa alive for the next 200 or 300 years, because this guy was such a genius. And I'm sure Frank's soul is somewhere around in the universe, because even God Almighty has to know what a genius Frank Zappa was and still is. I can feel the spirit of Frank every day, you guys. And I still say I want to put a grave marker there in Westwood or wherever he's buried at that cemetery. But, the 4 kids won't do it because they're like, we're honoring Frank's wishes. Frank, was like a zero or a nobody, and he just wants to be forgotten, or he doesn't care about being remembered. And I don't agree with that. Me, Clark the Shark, it probably doesn't matter when we're dead. I mean, what people think or whatever, but I care about Frank Zappa, you guys. And this album, this second album, Absolutely Free, it's not my favorite Frank Zappa album because all of his albums are so good. Freak Out is just so good. I can't compare it to this album, and I can't compare these two to the next album, or that 1950s one from 1968, which is just so insanely awesome, or of course the incredible We're Only in It for the Money, and just all those other albums. And then from there, when he hits that jazz fusion phase in the 70s, where he just gets incredible. Peaches and Regalia kind of begins it, but then he gets even more badass and progressive and jazz fusion and like funk or something in the 70s with Waka Jawaka and all those albums. Oh man, 200 Motels and all of it. It just gets better and better. Joe's Garage. The one that he did on Warner Brothers is incredible, you guys. I want you to buy Frank Zappa. If you're a young person today, get into Frank Zappa, you guys. If you're just 20 years old and you were born in 2003, you were born 2 years after 9/11, when the World Trade Center towers fell, and you're just, 20, you were born in 2003. I want you, indie kid, or whoever you are, I want you to go to Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, and buy Frank Zappa, every album, to support his family. Don't support the guy Ahmet. Support Dweezil and Moon Unit, but I don't know, maybe support the other guy too. But I'm just saying, support Frank Zappa in general and buy his shit, because his albums are incredible. And I grew up at, 251 Paseo de Gracia in the South Bay, in Torrance, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach. I was always just a Frank Zappa guy, and it really influenced my own music. Of course, I could never play drums or guitar this good like these geniuses in this family, or all the geniuses who swirl around Frank Zappa. Like, I can't drum like Ainsley Dunbar. No way. I can't even play like the original Mothers. Jimmy Carl Black. They were all incredible, you guys. All of them. Great musicians. And then later on, like Steve Vai or whoever, dude, tried to play with or learn Zappa, like Joe Satriani or whoever. All of them, dude. It's just the Black Page, it's just impossible to play. I don't even think Beethoven or Tchaikovsky or people could even play that. It's so fucking insane. You have to be beyond genius, beyond talent, to play or even think on the level as Frank Zappa, Support this guy, you guys, coming straight from the heart of me. Clark the Shark, right here from the golden, fabulous EIB Sharkerphone. It's not a microphone, you guys, because when I'm talking about Frank fucking Zappa, I'm talking about a genius, and I want you to buy all his music. And you tell him that Clark the Shark from the fabulous Clark the Shark Show sent you and told you to buy some Frank Zappa, you guys, especially like these first 8 albums or so. But keep on buying them, because you will discover his albums get better and better. Most people, most bands, most solo artists, their albums get a little worse as they go because they're trying to get commercial or something, but not Frank Zappa. This guy is not trying to be commercial. He's trying to do something else, you guys. And his music just seems to get better and better and better every album. It really does, and I'm not kidding. He has like 200 albums, and they are all just as genius as the next. That's why the vault up there is so important. All those songs and bits and demo tapes and things that Zappa recorded, it's all important. And I hope it all finds its way onto albums. I got to listen more, I admit, to the posthumous Frank albums that are put out, by his estate. Because they're probably just as good and important as all that other Frank Zappa, you guys. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, you just got the only review, let's face it, that you'll ever need or ever want of the second Frank Zappa and the Mothers album, absolutely free. What an album, man. But I can say that about every single Frank Zappa related album. They are all incredible, technical, prog, not fucking around, dude, exact. He'll play it 1,000 times until they get it perfect. That's how it is, dude. And then what's so funny is the vocals are just funny, the sense of humor. The music, like the technical prog jazz fusion and really intricate music is one thing, and then he just fucks it up and ruins it with the vocals. It's just so funny and ironic. Frank Zappa, incredible, you guys. Right here on the Clark the Shark Show, and I hope you buy this, you guys, and get into some Zappa. And I'm out of here, people. Peace.